The information provided on this show does not, and is not intended to, constitute legal advice. Instead, all information on this show is for general informational purposes only. The information provided is not a substitute for legal advice, and we recommend viewers consult an attorney for specific legal matters.
Welcome back to Condo Craze and HOAs here on our YouTube channel every Sunday at 11 a.m. And we are so thankful, Eric and I, for our wonderful advertisers and sponsors because they are so fantastic. They offer you the best services in South Florida, including our diamond sponsor, Best Roofing. I'm here again with attorney Eric Glazer, who's board certified by the Florida Bar on Condominium and Plan Development Law. And Eric's law firm, Glazer and Sachs, has offices in Hollywood and Orlando. And we're here each week to answer all of your calls and questions about issues that make life in your condominium or HOA absolutely crazy from 1 minute to the next. And we'd like to get those phone lines going early, so you can also ask us a question in the chat box as well. The number to call is 717-452-9378. That works out to be 717-GLAZER8 with a Z. And again, you can also go in the chat box and ask a question there. We usually cover everybody pretty much.
Absolutely. Good morning, everybody. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to two things. Number one, of course, the Condo Craze and HOAs channel on YouTube. I think yesterday, Rob, we hit 202 different videos on there. So you can go back and view any of them. Yeah, I built up a great library. Thank you. That's all captains, the captain's doing over there. Much appreciated, Rob.
Yay, Robert Lisman.
So don't forget to subscribe to that. And of course, subscribe to our email list. By subscribing to our email list, you can get announcements about the show, about the seminars, of course, updates on the law. I will tell you that just heard this morning that the governor did make an announcement that he's going to sign House Bill 913 into law. So it will, in fact, become law.
That's the new condo.
That's the new condo bill that we've been talking about. Correct. Go ahead, Karen. I'm sorry.
Where are you?
We're on the socials, aren't we?
Oh, we're on the socials.
Yes, absolutely.
Except for TikTok.
Exactly.
We're not on there.
TikTok.
What happened? You just said no more.
Robert's boycotting China, so he took us right off of there.
No more China.
Right, just pulled us right off of
there. Oh, man, how Trumpian. Oh, my gosh. So, yeah, we're on Facebook, Apple, Spotify, also on LinkedIn, and I think we're on X.
Yes, and of course we do a blog on Monday mornings. And of course, it is Memorial Day weekend.
Thank you.
Yes, I first want to honor the men and women who died fighting for this country. And without their sacrifices, there's no United States of America today. And especially when you think of the Civil War and World War II, that's not just a line. There would be no America today if not for the men and women who previously gave their sacrifices. And I think it's something we really need to teach our youth. Unfortunately, today, most of whom don't even know who fought in either of those two wars.
What's so interesting is that the governor was speaking at the homeschooling convention.
Yes.
And he said that the number one thing we need to teach is civics and our history.
Of course, it's terrible.
You have to be a good citizen, and you need to know our origins and where we come from.
Ironically, for those of you out there who have never been to a swearing-in ceremony to becoming a United States citizen, it's incredible. It's a tearjerk moment.
We all should have to go through that.
It is. And they wind up knowing more about American civics than our youth do when they graduate high school. Believe me when I tell you that. They have to at least pass some sort of a test.
Well, I think the youth are deliberately not taught it.
Right. Perhaps. Yep. And of
reason.
Course, what do we know about Memorial Day weekend?
Well,
it's the official start of summer, right?
It's already been 90 degrees. It's been...
Florida, you don't really feel that. It's always summer. Right, I get it, of course. But, when you're living in New York, the seasons, you feel the seasons, and Memorial Day comes, you're automatically in a good mood, and
June
here comes
1st,
summer.
Hurricane season.
Yes, down here, right. So
good.
Maybe not much to look forward to down here, but in the rest of the world, yes, Memorial Day means the start of summer.
So I was driving on Palm Beach, and I noticed that Trump wasn't at Mar-a-Lago. Apparently he's at Bedminster, so he's one of those snowbirds that's no longer coming down
even
here.
himself, right, exactly. But talk about snowbirds. as the snowbirds leave here, that means we're simultaneously getting closer to lots and lots of empty condominium units. And those of you who are leaving, you better learn that just because you leave your Florida condominium for a few months, that doesn't mean that your responsibility to maintain your unit stops once you hit the Georgia border.
Well, I mean, there has to be some responsibility to at least check up on the unit, make sure everything's okay.
You would
Nothing
think.
is broken.
Right.
The air conditioning is still kind of working. You need to leave that on,
You
right?
would think, right? But, you know,
There isn't?
oh, there is. There absolutely is a responsibility. And first, just look at your governing documents. Every declaration of condominium has a general clause in there that requires the owner, just like you were saying, Karen, to maintain his or her unit in good condition. It's in every single unit, right? Yes, it does mean keep your freaking air conditioner on.
Yeah.
When you leave for the summer, you can't shut it off because if you do, you know what's going to happen.
Degrees.
Right. You know the mold's going to accumulate. It's going to be a disaster. And in cases where people, leave for the summer, arbitration decisions have held, let me read this to you, that where an owner does not reside in the unit, it is incumbent on the owner to routinely and periodically examine and inspect the unit to ensure the absence of leaks and conditions that would otherwise lead to damage to the building and its occupants. In recognition of the fact that multiple owners occupy a single building, a problem that develops in one unit may well affect other units and the common element components of the building. And again, for those that are playing along at home, the case that is cited to here is Los Prados Condominium Association versus Lemley. It's an arbitration decision decided by the original arbitrator, Carl Sherman, may he rest in peace.
Really?
Yeah, and that was done in 2004, and that law is just as maybe even more relevant today than it was in 2004 because we have so many more condominium units that we did.
As you know, I live in a condo, and the unit next to me, to the left, I've never seen anyone in there ever.
Really?
But apparently they're up on paying all their bills, and someone checks on it regularly.
That's great.
Yeah.
And as long as, like you said,
and I don't mind.
No, of course not. But you would mind. Let me tell you when you would mind. If the air was not on next door, and eventually mold was to accumulate, and eventually that mold would spread to your unit, and it will if the air wasn't on. But as long as someone's checking on it, that's great.
They are, and
that's
I guess
fine, no problem.
The other big problem would be a flood.
Exactly, flood, which is the most common thing that happens when people aren't there. And if you have a flood in your unit, it doesn't take Einstein to realize it's going to affect the other units, especially, of course, if you're on the upper floors of the unit and the leak lasts for any period of time. It's going to hurt a lot of people. So there is a responsibility to check on it.
With all the technology today, can you use a camera inside there and look at it, or do you have to have a human being go in there?
You don't. You don't need somebody actually checking it. There's so many different forms of technology that can that will allow you to live up to your responsibility.
It'll check the air conditioner.
Absolutely.
Everything.
I have an app that checks the air conditioning here and at home. Absolutely. But there's things even better for that. Not like my iPhone. No, private joke, everybody. If you have a leak, there's technology out there now that will let you know if you have a leak in your unit, right? It measures if there's water on the floor.
Oh, wow.
And will send a signal to your phone or to your Apple Watch or whatever it may be. You'll get a signal that there's a leak in your unit, right? You have technology that will shut off your AC unit if it's accumulating water. Just a little thing that I have it at home, that if it starts to build up water, there's a safety switch and boom, it shuts off your AC. Just little things you can do to prevent disaster. You can control your AC unit from anywhere in the world. You can on your phone.
Okay.
You can set the temperatures, of course. And of course, you can install cameras in your unit. And you can watch those cameras from anywhere in the world. So you don't even necessarily have to be there. That's why there is really no excuse, none, for failing to take care of your unit when you're away.
But a lot of people aren't tech savvy.
Too bad.
They don't get it.
Then you got to leave your key with the association.
Yeah. Well, you have to leave your key anyway.
If the docs require it. Only if the docs require it.
Really?
Yes. Not all docs require it. But we can do a whole show on the next topic. But if your docs require it, and you don't, and you try to challenge that, you will lose every single time.
I like that they have my key.
what's the big deal? Because
Plus,
people
if I-
think that they're going to break in. Does it happen? Wait. We're going a little off topic here. Has it happened over the years? Yes, it's happened over the years, where board members or maintenance crews just come in while the person is away. They even get caught on cameras. Yes, it can happen. But we digress a little bit. But is there a right of access
Yeah.
to go in? Yes, there's a right of access. Let's say you don't leave a key. Let's say you don't leave a key with a neighbor or the association. Does the association have a right to go into your unit? Yes, they do.
And they can break the door down?
Yes, they can.
Oh,
So
God.
let's talk about this. So here's what the statute says, okay? Statute says right of access to units. The association has the irrevocable right of access to each unit during reasonable hours when necessary for the maintenance, repair, or replacement of any common element or any portion of a unit to be maintained by the association pursuant to the declaration, or as necessary to prevent damage to the common elements or to a unit. That's pretty much a catch-all. They have a right to go in there.
And when you're sleeping.
Not when you're sleeping. Reasonable hours, although there's all kinds of stories I've heard over the years. I've walked out of my bedroom not wearing anything,
There you are.
and who's sitting there,
Oh, my
right?
God.
Right, the maintenance crew, board members, whatever. But if the association thinks that a leak is coming from your unit, if they don't have a key, they're going to use a locksmith. They're going to break your lock to get in, and they're entitled to do it. And if they don't have any other reasonable means to get in, they have that right. And if the owner, I should say it is the owner, who's going to wind up going to pay for that lock and
Sure.
the door repair.
Sure.
And if there really was a leak, bottom line, be smart, plan ahead, and make sure that when Florida gets in your rearview mirror this year, that someone is still left behind watching your unit to make sure nothing happens, or you're watching it from wherever you are, because if your unit causes damage to another unit or the common elements, you're going to wind up having a really, really big bill to pay.
As for Mar-a-Lago, the Secret Service was there. I saw their car.
This morning?
Yesterday.
Oh, really?
So he's not there, but someone's
He's
there.
not there, so the Secret
He's
Service will
good.
take care of the
Yeah,
floods and
they
stuff.
will.
Yeah, I understand. I don't have that luxury. But anyway, let's hear what you guys think about all of that. Give us a call in the studio. 717-GLAZER-8. Again, 717-GLAZER-8. That's 717-452-9378. Or drop us a question or comment in the chat box on YouTube. We will be back right after this.
There are very large management companies and there are very small management companies. And I think Affinity sits somewhere in the middle of that, where they are big enough to provide you with all of the back of the house services, the accounting, the infrastructure, the support systems, but small enough to be high touch.
We believe at Affinity that we do the 9 to 5 so that you don't have to do that.
Welcome back to Condo Craze and HOAs here on our YouTube channel. Don't wait to the last minute to give us a call. The number is 717-GLAZER-8 with a Z. That's 717-452-9378. The chat going bonkers about keys. I'm not giving them a key. They don't secure them.
Whoa.
I don't care what the docs say.
So should I tell my sister's story
Yes.
again? So my sister lived, I should say, in a condo in Aventura, and she had to leave a key with the people downstairs with in the maintenance room or whatever it was. One day she comes home and opens the door, and she's looking at her couch, and it looks like pillow is a little out of place. Puts it back. Next day, the same damn pillow's out of place. Next day, a chair is out of place, and she's thinks something. Start doubting yourself, right?
Right. You're losing your
You're
grip.
losing your mind. Well, the next day, there was one of these fat-free dinners where the box was left in the sink, and she knew, what is it called? You know,
A lean cuisine.
A lean cuisine box was actually left in the sink.
Holy smokes.
So the thief actually did, relaxed, took out a lean cuisine dinner, popped it in the microwave, and that's when she knew she wasn't going crazy. And yes, the people in the office allowed the key to be taken from a maintenance person that worked there who got into her house.
And was just relaxing.
And was relaxing, hanging out. Okay, so do these things happen? Yes, these things happen. But I will tell you that every single, without exception, arbitration case that you can find where somebody said, I don't want to leave my key, I don't trust the situation, every one of those, without exception, is a loser. If the docs require you to leave a key, you shall leave a key, period. Okay? Just don't have any lean cuisine in your fridge and you're good. How about we go to the first call?
And have a camera in your house so you
Yes,
can
have
see
a
the guy on your couch
Absolutely.
eating your lean cuisine.
Yep, 100%.
All right, the first caller didn't leave a name, but when you hear a beep, you are live.
Okay,
Hello?
who do we got?
Hi, I was the president of a 12-unit, 9-owner condo association board of directors. The association consists of 4 buildings with 3 condos in each. All were damaged in the last 2 hurricanes hitting our West Coast.
Okay.
No permits have been issued yet to begin reconstruction. The owners became frustrated. A few weeks ago, I resigned as the board president. And within hours, the other 2 members of our 3-member board resigned, as did our management company.
Oh, dear.
I think that's probably a unique situation. I'm hoping that a lot of people don't go through this, but this ends up with no board of directors. Now, some of the owners got together and they did an email poll and an election for someone who volunteered to be an acting board president until new elections can occur, and that person would find and retain a new management company. Now, from looking at 718, I don't think email elections are recognized, but I'm wondering what could be done or should be done at this point without having it become insolvent and the state getting involved.
Well, that's the last thing that you want, okay? So if there's no board and people are not going to step up and try to volunteer for the board, then the unit owners can remove for a receiver. And a receiver is basically an attorney that's going to take over control of your board of directors.
And you pay him.
Yeah, that's the last thing you want, because your board does it for free. You know, I've been appointed a receiver for associations before, and I don't do it for free, quite frankly. So you're paying an attorney to run your association, especially in a 12-unit association, you're going to pay. I'm sorry?
It might save you more money.
Well, if this receiver somehow is able to get this claim paid, you know, this hurricane damage paid, that would be a great thing. But, you know, it seems to me that you're having a lot of problem potentially collecting on the insurance funds that's owed to the building.
Yeah, we've got a lot. I got 400,000 so far, and I've turned that over. So that they did appoint, but this acting president did appoint a new management company and signed a contract with them. I gave them the records that were left over from the old association and a check for $360,000 for now to get things going.
Well, hang out. Do the buildings have to be rebuilt?
Is that new association even legit? If there wasn't an election, does this person have the authority
I understand
to
that,
appoint to sign off?
there's a theory under the law, right, called de facto, right? De facto. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of arbitration cases that say, well, wait a minute, if everybody resigns, right, and people are asked, especially in a 12-unit condo, hey, is there anybody that can please step up here and please help us take control of this terrible situation without a board? And if people, yes, are good enough to come forward and step up and help the community, and they act as if there was a whole election and the community allows them to do it, then yes, the arbitration decisions have held that they will be recognized as a board. They will be considered the de facto board, and yes, they will be recognized as such, and they will have the same powers as any previously elected board. So absolutely,
Fantastic.
there's
That's
a
great.
theory under the law that would allow them to come in there, help out the community without the need of waiting for an election. Correct. We're talking about an emergency situation here.
Now,
Okay.
I'm just going from past experience. I've been involved there for 10 years in each office, and finally as the president for the last 5. But I don't expect when they come to an actual election that anyone's going to step up and run.
Well, the people that
What was there?
the people that are filling that came forward now, why wouldn't they run when it's time to actually have the election?
There was only one person, and that person made it clear, look, I'm only doing this until there's an election. I am not
Well,
going to be your permanent board
okay,
president,
so-
just to help out. And she
so-
was the only, I put out a blanket email. It's time for someone else to step up. This
Okay,
one person
hold up,
did.
buddy. Hold up. So let everybody know that if there's not going to be a board of at least 3, right? It's got to be at least 3. If there's not going to be one, then get ready to start paying a receiver a lot of money to help run your association. Everybody better get,
I'll send.
hundreds and hundreds of dollars more, each of you, each month,
Oh.
ready to go to
Wow.
pay an attorney to run it. Okay? So maybe you tell
I'll
them
send
that
the
and they'll
message,
think
Eric.
twice.
Thank you.
Okay? Robert, how about we go on to the
That's
next call?
fantastic.
By the way, somebody had a bunch of beers taken out of their refrigerator. They counted them every day.
That's what they're
There
saying?
were 4 beers.
Oh my God, you're kidding. You gotta admit, it's a little funny.
Yeah.
A little bit. Who else we got, Rob?
All right, next caller is Richard from Miami Lakes.
Hey, Richard.
Good morning, Councilor Karen. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Sure thing.
I have a couple of questions about grievance committees. Two questions. First, the association board removed one member and another member quit. So I submitted a request to meet with the grievance committee on an issue, on a fine. When I showed up, they did it on Zoom. When I showed up, there was 3 new people. They would not give their names or their unit numbers. They refused to provide that information. The board also did not post the event to anyone. So it was really just me, the property manager, and these 3 individuals who I did not recognize. Could you tell me a little bit about how the process works and if that is appropriate to conduct it that way?
No, it's not appropriate because those people who are now on the fining committee, they needed to be appointed to that committee at a board meeting. So it's obvious that that didn't happen because you don't even know the names of the people. If it happened at a board meeting, you would certainly know who the names are. Obviously, at the board meeting, it would be, okay, Sarah Jones wants to be on the fining committee. Somebody make a motion to appoint Sarah Jones. And the same thing for anybody else who wants to be on the
It'd
committee.
be in the minutes.
So it would be in the minutes, certainly. Absolutely, it would be in the minutes. And people wouldn't be, afraid. And I understand why it's always hard, I should say, to get people to volunteer for a fining committee for the obvious reasons.
Right.
You're afraid to find the people that you live with, right? But certainly, you are absolutely allowed to know the names of the people that are on that committee. And number 2, yes, owners have a right to attend that actual hearing. Okay, and you'll see, especially, it makes it clear in the new legislation that these meetings, any and all of these meetings, board meetings, committee meetings, they actually have to have a physical location. people have to have the right to go somewhere and attend. So
Does the person on the finding committee have to be a resident?
not necessarily. They have to be, probably have to be an owner. Probably have to be an owner, not necessarily a resident.
Some
to
kind
live
of
here.
kneecap breaker
But they got to be there.
down at the docks?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's tough, and that's why it's tough to get people to become members of these committees, because they're afraid of retribution,
Sure.
retaliation, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it seems like your board was 0 for 2 on this one, and they made 2 mistakes. Okay.
So
you can-
is this action considered a Florida statute violation or
Yes,
just a condo
absolutely,
violation?
sure. 100% it's a statutory violation, because again, if you look at the statute regarding finding committees, these people have to be appointed by the board. And there's
Okay.
no way they were properly appointed, because you can only make these appointments at a board meeting that was properly noticed and where the unit owners have a right to attend. That clearly was not done here, because if it was done here, you would know who was appointed to the finding committee, and it would be in the minutes, like Karen said, and these people wouldn't be afraid to let you know who they are. Okay?
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Super valuable. I appreciate it. Have a great holiday weekend.
You too, buddy. Thank you.
Thanks,
Keep it coming,
Richard.
Rob. Who do we got?
All right, next caller is David from St. Pete.
How are you, David?
Doing good. Yourself?
Okay, how can we help?
I had really a question from last week and was wondering, are the Zoom meetings or video conferences things, are they required to be recorded? If you don't record them and just use your regular minutes, is that okay?
If it's going to be on Zoom, the answer is going to be yes. Okay? If they are going to be required to be recorded, if it's also being broadcast on Zoom, and yes, it's going to be required to be maintained, and yes, it's going to be required to be put up on the association's website even within 30 days. So yeah, brand new statutes coming into effect on July 1st regarding video conferencing, and it's going to require all the things that we just mentioned. And I can tell you, a lot of people are happy about that.
Yeah.
But if you're just using something like FaceTime or something like that for one person or
well,
so,
it
that
says
does not have to
video
be recorded.
conferencing. It doesn't say Zoom. If you're using video conferencing, what's video conferencing? Where you can see and hear the people that are appearing, whether it be board members, whether it be community members. The statute doesn't say Zoom; it says video conferencing, and we all know what video conferencing is. If the association's using it, yes, it's got to be put up on the website. It's got to be maintained as well as an official record of the association. Okay?
Thank you.
You got it. All right, let's do this. Let's take our bottom of the hour break. Good questions to start the show. Keep the calls coming in. 717-452-9378. 717-452-9378, or drop us a question or comment in the chat box. We'll be back right after this.
Roomkiss Consultants offer the professional expertise to help condominium and cooperative communities provide safe, compliant buildings for their tenants. We have more than 170 Florida licensed engineers and architects who are experienced with local regulations and can assist with Senate Bill 4D compliance. We can help with milestone structural inspections, capital expenditure evaluations, structural integrity reserve studies, and developer transition reports. Focusing on energy, resilience, maintainability, and sustainability, our experts can help with every phase of the building life cycle. Contact us for inspections, building restoration, repair and remediation consulting, or mitigation after a catastrophic event.
All over the world, people have plumbing problems. These problems can be expensive and destructive to fix. Have you ever wondered if there was a way to take care of your plumbing problems without destruction and an outrageous price tag? Welcome to Pipelining Technologies, Inc., where we specialize in fixing your problems without demolition and minimum cutting by means of pipelining. Pipelining is the ability to take a pipe damaged by root intrusion or long-term deterioration and make it new. By means of inserting an epoxy-saturated liner into the pipe and allowing it to harden or cure, leaving behind a brand new pipe.
That sounds great. How can I get pipelining in my home, commercial building, or condominium?
Simply fill out our online contact form and a pipelining representative will get in touch with you in a timely fashion, or call us directly at 561-853-5463.
Welcome back to Condo Craze and HOAs here on our YouTube channel. Again, give us a call. There's like 15 people on the phone. 717-GLAZER-8. That's 717-452-9378. People are going nuts about the people that get into their apartment or their condos with a key and change the channels.
It's funny. I mean, if people have stories about that, let's do a show just on that.
Should.
Let's go to the board a second. Renee Lessard, if your building is under 3 stories, 53 years old, does a milestone inspection, is it required to be done? So that depends where you are.
That's right.
That depends where you are. In every county in the state, but for Dade and Broward, the answer would be no, right? The answer would be no, because the inspections kick in only at 3 stories or more. However, if you're in Dade and Broward, it has nothing to do with height. It has to do with square footage. Let's just say approximately 2,500 to 3,000 square feet in there.
For the whole building?
For the whole, if the connected roof. So I don't remember the exact numbers, but I think in Broward it's very small. I think it's like 2,000, 2,500 square feet. If we use that number for both, it's pretty close. But that's the difference between Dade and Broward and the rest of the state. So the answer depends upon where your condominium is located. That's why this is confusing stuff. And, you know, attorneys that are probably outside of the Dade and Broward area, right? They don't have to learn this stuff.
Right.
I mean, if you're an attorney in Jacksonville somewhere, you don't even know about this probably. But you're practicing down here, yes, totally new laws, different laws.
If you don't have Kaufman and Dade and
forget about it.
Even local law.
Do the milestone inspections still apply? Yes, I would argue that they do apply. It's even under a different statute than 718. I would say it would have to apply. This is in safety inspection type laws, something different.
Okay.
Okay. Who do we got, Rob?
Let's go to Joe from Delray Beach.
How are you, Joe?
Oh, we're local today.
I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm doing well. Listen, I have a question about board vacancies, but I just want to comment on your narrative about the key holder and the access to condos. We had I'm the president of a board director of 300 units. We had owners challenge that. Because we asked for keys, so for the very reasons that you were talking about. In an open meeting, we read them our declarations, which were basically word for word what you said, and that kind of sobered them up when we told them, if we don't have your key, we're going to have to get into your unit in an emergency by whatever means possible at your expense.
Absolutely.
But I said it would be a lot easier if we had a key.
Sure.
You know, so that took care of that problem.
Yep. Or your door's going to look real ugly.
Or it won't be there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically common sense. It's in our declarations anyway.
Sure.
Anyway, we have a problem right now. I don't know if it's a problem, but we had a board member resign. We have 7-person board. We are now 6. We have our declarations say no less than 5, no more than 7. Do we have to fill that vacancy, or can we wait till the next election?
So here's where it gets confusing. Does it say how you determine whether it's no less than 5 or more than 7? Or is it kind of vague? By the way, are you an HOA or is it a condo?
No, this is a condo. This
condo,
is 718. This is a condo.
Okay. So does it specifically say how you make the determination as to whether it's 5 or 7?
I
okay,
don't believe
so
what do you
let's
mean
teach
by
some
that?
law here. Let's teach some law, Joe. Okay. All right, it's okay. Let's teach it anyway. Okay, let's teach it anyway. So you have a lot of declarations out there or bylaws out there that say when it comes to the number of directors on your board, it just like Joe's saying, no less than 5 or no more than 7, no less than X or no more than Y. If it doesn't specifically say how you get to that specific number, in a condo, the number is automatically 5. Okay? So
What do you mean how you get to that number?
in
By
other
counting?
words, no. Is it determined
what do you
by a vote of the community? Is it
Oh,
determined every year by the board of directors?
okay.
How do you determine each year what the number is going to be? And if it doesn't tell you how you get there, right, then the number is automatically 5. So, Joe, I may tell you, you want to know if we went from 7 to 6, do we have to make that replacement? And I may tell you respectfully, you're looking at it the wrong way, buddy. You got to kick somebody off. Because if it doesn't say how you get to
Got it.
the number, your number should have automatically been 5. So there's no way for me to give you an intelligent answer on that unless and until I got to see exactly what your bylaws say.
Holy smokes.
And no, don't read me them over the show. Okay? Joe, I appreciate
No. I wouldn't do.
I
no, that's-
appreciate
no, that
the
wouldn't do
phone
that.
call,
But
buddy.
I just want to challenge what you just said. If it's okay.
Joe, we can't do that now because we got 14 people behind you, my friend. Okay?
Okay, okay, buddy. Thanks for the
Take
advice.
care. Be
Take
well.
care.
Okay.
Have a
He
good
wants to
weekend.
You got
challenge
it.
you.
Who do we got, Rob?
Let's go to.
I object.
What is this, a duel? You're going to lose. I mean, come on.
I strenuously
Genuinely
object.
Oh, I strenuously object. All right, next.
Let's go to John. I think
Great
it's
line.
Orlando.
Oh, sorry. Great line.
Are you calling from John?
Yes, good morning. Good morning, Eric and Karen.
Hey,
Happy
John, how are
holiday
you?
weekend to both of you.
Hey, John. Wait. Let me stop you before you get going. John, did you tune in last week?
Did I what?
Were you on last week? Did you hear me? 2 weeks ago, you asked me about my electric car, and you freaking jinxed me. Do you remember?
I listened very attentively. I heard, because remember the first time you had the car, you had software problems.
Oh.
You threw down on the dealership and they gave you a brand new one. So I heard what you said.
But did you hear last week? Anyway.
Yes, no, I heard last week
Oh,
they gave
my
you a new
God.
one, and you got caught with what they call deadhead miles, and you almost ran out trying to look for a charging station.
Yeah, it was a disaster. It was a
Deadhead
disaster.
miles.
So good questions. I think you provided a really great public service to the community. So thank you so much. And now let me answer your condo question.
No, thank you. Okay, I'm in an HOA.
HOA.
And I'm in an HOA, right? And I'll do this quickly. So our insurance premium came due, and it went down to $358,000. And at the board meeting, we were notified of that. And by the way, our a good amount of our reserves are in investment accounts.
Okay.
Last year, we brought in an additional $85,000 in income through those investment accounts.
Wow.
Great.
So, yeah, $85,000. And I beat them over the head until they finally invested that money properly.
Good.
So we were still liquid. So anyway, so what they did is they informed us at the board meeting, oh, and by the way, guys, what we did so we could pay the premium, and I'm not against paying the insurance premium, don't misunderstand me. We liquidated some of our investment accounts, and it appears that they took the 358, and it appears that they took about another additional $150,000 to $200,000. There was no vote of the board, there was no vote of the homeowners, and something to me says is there something wrong with that? That doesn't sound real kosher to me.
It's fine. Was that money in reserves?
Yeah, they had it invested, reserved
It
money.
it was in reserves, yes.
Well, obviously, you can only use reserves for the purposes for which they were intended. So, did they use the reserves for the purposes that they were intended for, such as to pay for repairs or replacements for things like?
Well, they were supposed to take out the 85 grand for the insurance.
That would have been fine.
Okay.
That would have been, well, it depends where that interest is coming from. If that interest is on reserves, then no, that interest should have been allocated back to the reserves, right? by category.
Okay.
Okay. So if the roof reserve earned $15,000 in interest, that goes to the roof. If the pavement earned $2,500, that interest goes to the pavement. Does that make sense, John?
It makes sense, but they have it all lumped together under this guise of we have pooled reserves and we could do whatever we want with that money. They don't have to vote on that to liquidate those investment accounts?
No, they don't have to vote on it to liquidate the investments accounts. No, absolutely not. If it went back into the reserves, then I think it's fine. The board makes the decisions regarding investments. The unit owners get to make the decisions regarding the reserves being spent on anything other than for purposes for which they were intended.
Maybe they thought
But
since
for investment purposes,
they were taking some money out, they might as well take a little bit more just to have it on
could
hand.
be. Right. Yeah. So I don't, no harm, no foul there, John.
Okay. And the insurance, by the way, that's a fixed expense. That's not a reserve item.
That's correct. That's right. That's exactly right. That should be in the budget. That's not a reserve item. That's correct. So that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. That just should be a line item in the budget.
Okay.
Okay.
I appreciate it, sir, and keep us up to date on that electric car because I've been thinking about buying one, and I'm kind of following your story.
Well, if you plan on taking a long trips, the next time you are thinking about getting an electric car, just take a big sledgehammer out of your tool shed and hit yourself over the head a couple of times, and you'll think twice.
You made yours
That's
into
my
a planter,
best advice.
haven't you? It's a planter.
I'm sorry?
It's a planter now.
Yeah, right, exactly.
By the pool.
Okay. Good luck, John. Thank you, buddy. Take care. Thanks for calling in, like always. Let's take our final break of the hour.
Question.
Keep the calls. Yes, question.
Someone wants to know if the new law that they're signing into law on July 1st applies to co-ops.
No, it does not. No, we're talking about a law this year that was condo related and 0 for HOAs as well. 0 for HOAs.
Or co-ops.
Yeah, I'm going to double check on the co-ops just to make sure. We'll answer that question when we get back, but I'm pretty sure nothing on co-ops, but we'll double check, okay? Keep the calls coming in, 717-452-9378. Don't wait until the last second.
In South Florida, the transition from bright sunshine to heavy rain and hurricanes can take a toll on your property's exterior and structural integrity. Cracked stucco, spalled concrete, they're more than eyesores. They can signal deeper issues. Now, with new Florida laws involving structural integrity requirements, we want to help you meet your milestone inspections and maintain the durability and beauty of your building. Since 2004, PD has been the trusted expert in structural concrete restoration, painting, and waterproofing for condominiums and commercial properties. Visit pd-concrete.com or call us today.
Life is full of steps. We learn to take small steps and big steps. We take steps toward adventure, to discover what's next. At South State, helping you take each step is what inspires us to keep moving forward, so you can keep enjoying what's next in your life. This is banking at its best. This is banking forward.
We are DMI Paving and Seal Coating, Florida's parking lot experts. We specialize in asphalt paving and repair, including pothole repair, seal coating using JC7 or polytar, concrete curbs, ramps, and walkways, and striping and pavement marking, as well as ADA compliance. We service commercial properties, including homeowners associations, apartment communities, shopping malls, warehouses, stadiums and arenas, and more. Experience is worth more than anything in an industry like ours, and our staff has decades of it. We have specialized equipment for any job, regardless of size, saving you time and money. DMI has a reputable history. We have been in business since 1956. We serve the state of Florida from 6 locations. Let us bid on your next parking lot project. Visit us online at dmipavingandsealcoating.com.
Welcome back to our final segment of Condo Craze and HOAs here on our YouTube channel. Karen Curtis, attorney Eric Glazer, who stands corrected.
Who stands corrected, yes. a lot of the laws that are going into effect on July 1st, yes, also will apply to co-ops as well. So if you're a co-op out there and you want to know what they're going to be, I would be glad to send you the new laws. Just send me an email. Again, eric@glazersacks.com, eric@glazersacks.com, and I'll specifically send you what the new co-op laws are going to be. Okay? All right, who else we got, Rob?
Let's go to, I think this is Barbara.
Barbara.
How are you, Barbara?
Oh, sorry. And now you're live.
Hello.
Yes, how can we help?
Hello. Well, getting back to your empty condo, I have heard that if someone is an absentee owner and does not have someone come in and check on the condo for any leaks or anything and document it, that their insurance can decline the claim.
You know what? They probably can. That's a great point. That's a great point.
Barbara.
Yeah, because that would be clear negligence on the part of the insured. And I don't know. There might be a clause in your policy that says just that. Wouldn't shock me.
No.
Insurance companies like to deny claims, so Barbara, it's very possible. And I think that is a great call to put everybody else out there on notice of what can happen to you. Another thing that can happen to you if you don't wind up checking on your unit.
And they're for sure not going to pay for the door damage if you didn't give them a key.
Exactly. They're not going to pay for anything if there's an exclusion in your policy. If they find out perhaps that you were supposed to check on your unit and you didn't. Great call, Barbara. I think that's
wonderful.
Way to go. That's your HO6 policy that wouldn't pay it off. Thank you, Barbara.
Have a great weekend.
You got it. Who
Bye.
else we got, Rob?
We're doing rapid fire, so quick. We got a bunch of
In
calls.
a few minutes we got
one question each.
All right, next caller didn't leave a name, but when you hear a beep, you are live.
And go.
Hi, Eric. Hi, Karen. This is Julia from Helen.
Hey, Julia. How are you?
Julie.
Hanging in there. On the topic of leaving the keys with the association, I would like to state that there is no sneakier lie than a selective truth. In our governing documents, yes, there is a requirement to have the keys given to association, but it's not in isolation. That requirement is based on the premise that the keys are kept in the secure environment and are used in a secure manner. When those two assumptions are violated, then the remainder, which is the requirement to keep the key, I think falls flat. What can you comment on that?
I understand that your train of thought. I get it. And I'm not saying I disagree. Certainly you would have an expectation that the key is going to be kept in a secure location. What I would tell you is there is not one arbitration case, at least I haven't researched it in probably a few years, but when I did, there was never an arbitration case in the state of Florida that ruled with the homeowner who didn't want to give a key to the association.
I would say get a really big, hungry dog.
Yeah,
and have that dog in your house.
Right.
And so when it's whoever's going to come in has to deal with the dog.
We'll prevent it if you allow dogs. Or it could be your very hungry, mean, emotional support animal.
That's right.
That's true. That's true. But I've never seen a unit owner win this type of a case in arbitration. Yes, Julia, I agree with you 100%. Obviously, when you give the key, just like my sister thought that key would be kept in a secure location.
Maybe I'll be the first one. A little bit of a comment. You
Sure.
got a congratulations from somebody just online a few minutes ago with a long weekend. I take a little bit of an issue. I think the congratulations should be for the veteran and for the memory of the veteran that actually got our freedom, as opposed to just the long weekend.
I agree with you 100%. You know, there's comments like when people say, Happy Veterans Day.
Oh,
or,
yeah.
You know, what do you mean Happy Veterans Day? You know, you should be having a Happy Veterans Day. It's a solemn holiday, just like Memorial Day is. So yeah, I think nobody means any disrespect, I think, by it. It's just you have to be careful with your selection of words. And yeah, I agree with you. Okay? Thank you so much for the call, Julia. You got
Ace
it.
Hardware is giving out 1 million free flags, but they're this big.
Really?
Yeah.
1 million? But
A
that's a
million.
lot. That's
That's a lot,
incredible.
like-
That's great. All right, who else we got?
Let's go to John from Sarasota.
Oh,
Hey, before we answer that call, remember how patriotic the country was after 9/11.
Hello?
You couldn't even buy a flag
right,
pin.
it was
They
hard
were
to get
sold
one,
out.
and everybody had them even from their
cars.
cars. Yeah, you obviously don't want something. Obviously, you
No.
don't want something like that to happen again. But man, wouldn't it be great if we can get back to a time when everybody was so patriotic again?
Well, I was driving around yesterday in
Yes.
Palm Beach, and people had big flags out on their
Right,
yards,
that's
and
great,
they were
yeah.
festooned with flags. It was
Really?
really nice.
Awesome. How are you, John?
I'm doing great. Thanks for taking my call, Eric.
Sure thing.
Back to 913. I hope I don't catch you off guard with this, but in reading that, I noticed that the new term habitable has been inserted in the new bill, and it's in reference to inspections and I believe into SIRS as well. So the question here is, if you have a 3-story, and it's 3 stories of habitable or more, and if you have a 3-story condo where the bottom floor, main floor, is all commercial buildings, would you consider the commercial or the commercial units habitable?
Yes, I would.
That's tough.
Yes, yes.
A
because-
garage would not be habitable.
Right, a garage may not be habitable, but I would consider the commercial floors underneath that people are actually in.
Yeah.
You know, many hours a day. I would consider that habitable. But matter of fact, I have it on the screen in front of us. I pulled it up.
There it is.
Yeah,
Look
but
at
you would think that maybe the habitable would be somewhere defined in the new bill, but I don't think it is. But I'm going to go with, at least from my perspective, I would consider it habitable because people are there. You know, and I think that's the bottom line. Okay, I don't think it necessarily means that it's to sleep in, for residential purposes, because it could have said that too. It could have said an owner or owners of a building that is 3 that consists of 3 residential stories. It doesn't say that, right?
So habitable,
It says 3
you
habitable
think,
stories.
might mean you have to be able to sleep there.
That's what he's suggesting. I don't think that's what it means. I just think it means 3 stories where people are in, not for parking. That's what I think it means. Okay.
Thank you for your opinion.
Thank you. I could
Take
be
care.
wrong. I don't know. It's got to be defined somewhere, but certainly it could be wrong on it. Okay. Thank you.
Next.
Okay. Who else we got, Rob?
All right. I think this is Donata.
Oh, Donata.
How are you, Donata?
Hi, Eric. Last show, I learned that they had to mail the budget. I mean, they are out of control. They didn't mail the budget. They didn't post the budget.
Okay.
And the harassment is, I mean, it's amazing. It's just amazing.
All right, so
all that because I'm saving $1,400 a month because we were paying $1,800. The contract was 180 or 20, whatever, and we're paying 400 now. Can you believe that?
That's a big difference. Saving $1,400 a month, catching a mistake by your
Yes.
association is a big deal. But I want to just, considering that you spoke about the budget being mailed, I do want to talk to everybody about that because there's big changes, big differences, I should say, between a condo and HOA. Condo statute is not being changed. The condo statute says your budget has to be mailed to you 14 days in advance of the budget meeting. And oftentimes that, as Donata was pointing out, that's oftentimes not the case. Associations don't follow it for whatever reason, but it's got to be mailed 14 days in advance. Not the case necessarily in an HOA. What's the law in an HOA? Law in an HOA is you can give your budget meeting 48-hour notice. That's it.
Oh.
So big difference between condos and HOAs. Hey, maybe we got room for one more
And
call,
they
Rob,
also
right?
can't take your key in an HOA.
Just one.
That's right. That's correct.
Nope, one question per.
Yes.
Next caller is Dan from West Palm Beach.
How are you, Dan?
All local.
Hi, I'm a condo owner, and I have a question in regards to our development. Doesn't have any Kaufman language in the statement or in the amendments. My question is, are there repercussions if the association follows the new law anyway? Even though we don't have Kaufman language, and also, and some owners do not because there's no Kaufman owner language,
Okay, this is what your
or are
condo
the
and HOA.
enforcement
What do you say?
mechanisms?
Condo,
Are there
right?
enforcement mechanism if the board decides not to follow the
Good
new
question,
law?
Dan.
So you're in a condo or an HOA, Dan? I'm sorry.
Condo, please.
So condo. So I'm trying to think of a lot of the new laws in a condo are very much procedural, like requiring the meetings to be videotaped, or when there's video conferencing, there's got to be copies of it.
I think he's
That's
talking about the
procedural.
Sears and all that.
Oh, okay.
So, and if you,
Yeah, I'm
so
talking
some
about Sears.
Okay,
people
so let
don't
me
want
give you
them
the
to.
most important one. Okay, let me give you the most important one. Let's assume that your governing documents say, and this is the one that's going to get perhaps the most publicity, and this is the one that I said it should probably be challenged in a court of law just to get an answer, and I'll tell you how I feel about it. Let's assume your documents say that, and a lot of condos do, that the unit owners have a right to waive the funding of reserves.
Yeah.
Okay, it's right in there. The
And
unit
there's no
owners have the right-
Kaufman language.
And there's no Kaufman language. And the unit owners in the building say, oh, this don't apply to us, right?
Right.
So we don't believe we have to fund a reserve account. Well, in Dan's condo, let's assume that the board says, no, we don't want to take a chance on that.
We're
right?
going to follow the law.
We believe we have an obligation to follow the law. We believe that we have to force the funding of a reserve account. I can understand a board feeling that way. I certainly understand that. Nor do I think a board would get in trouble for feeling that way. Obviously not. But there's owners, he's asking what can happen.
Yeah.
So what could happen is an owner could say, well, I am going to challenge the fact that you think all of us here, have to pay for reserves. We don't. So I'm going to file a court action.
So can they just not pay and not file a court
That
action?
would be a bad move. Okay. Because if it turns out you're wrong, all
Then-
of you can wind up getting foreclosed on.
Right. Okay.
So what I would do is continue to pay, right, if you want to challenge it, and someone files a court action under Florida Statute 86, which is the declaratory judgment statute. And you would file really what is a very simple case.
Quick.
And you'd say the law now
Summary
says
judgment.
this, we don't have, right, you would ask for summary judgment on the issue, both sides would, and someone would win,
Boom.
I believe, rather quickly. Now, believe it or not, how do I think this would go down?
Yeah.
How do I think this? Tune in next week to
Oh, that's
no,
a good
no.
one.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. How do I think this would go down? I think that, and again, I argued this in front of the Florida Supreme Court.
Yes, you did.
And the Florida Supreme Court came back with virtually no degree of contract impairment is tolerated in Florida. What's so
unit owners
ambiguous
win.
about no degree of contract impairment is tolerated? The unit owners would win. I think the unit owners would win. Now think about what I'm saying here, because think about how many associations don't have Kaufman language.
You've been warning about this, and now we have a case.
Correct. I wrote, you can search, I wrote, it was all this for nothing. I wrote a blog that said this.
Okay.
So think about what I'm saying. I'm really putting myself out on a limb here, right?
But you argued it in the Supreme Court,
Yeah.
so you
I think
lost.
I know something about it, right? You had to say I lost.
Well, it was unanimous.
7-0. It was close. Yeah. But if anyone knows this topic, right?
It's the loser.
It was, let it go now. You know what I'm saying? Yes. But by getting my butt kicked, I really learned a lot about this topic, quite frankly. And I was arguing in favor of the unit owners that this new law should apply. And the new law that I was arguing even started out with, right? The legislature intended for this to apply retroactively. And the court still shot it down, okay? So, again, my 2 cents is that the unit owners who don't have Kaufman language and who say we can't afford reserves, we're not paying for reserves, we have the right to waive reserves in our own governing documents. If you filed a declaratory judgment action, what do I think would happen? I think you would win. But that's this one person's attorney. And I know there's other people listening to this now, other attorneys watching this and saying, what is Eric, crazy? No, I'm not crazy.
No.
I think I know pretty much a lot about this.
You do.
So Do I know for sure how it would turn out? No. Do I think someone's probably going to challenge it? Yes, I do. I think you get a couple of different owners out there from one association who think, why not challenge it? If we win, we save each of us $600-700 a month maybe in reserves. And if we sue the association and win, we get our money back.
And Dan, you're in West Palm Beach. How tall is your building? Are you near the water?
Yeah, 7. No, not near the water, but 7 stories.
Okay, 7 stories. You have to pay it.
Okay.
You have to pay it. Period. So the mandatory. You have to pay mandatory reserves. So if you get a bunch of people in your building, what's the big deal if everybody chips in a little bit and you try a challenge?
But if you challenge, let us know what happens.
Right.
We want to keep up with you on this, okay? Because
very important.
And he'd love to represent
it would be monumental.
you.
What if the board?
Wouldn't you?
What
It
if
would be
the
a
board
monumental
decides
case.
not to follow the new law?
I'm not gonna tell anybody not to follow the new law.
No, he's saying
That's not what
challenge
I'm
it.
saying.
You need to follow the law, challenge it.
Right.
Because
Challenge
you could still get forced.
while you're paying your assessments.
Yeah.
Challenge it, and then you can even ask back for the extra reserve money
That's
that
right.
you were forced to put in.
That's right.
So there's a lot to gain.
Is that something that we could hire you for?
Yes, we can.
He
Absolutely.
would love that. He
Yeah, I
would.
mean, I think that this is probably
Needs to be
ultimately going to go
addressed.
back at the Supreme Court.
It needs to be addressed.
Yeah, but I think it's a winner. Okay.
Is
So
it
give it-
possible to do it as a group of
Yeah,
associations?
I don't know if it's a group of associations, but that's no. I think what you got to do it as is a group of people in an association, one association, who are being forced to pay
I
these
think you
extra
meant a group
amounts.
of condo owners.
Yeah,
Like
you
a-
can do it as a group of condo owners, yes, and everybody split the costs. And,
Yeah.
and again, if you win, think of what happens if you win.
Oh, yeah.
If you win, you get back your attorney's fees against the association. If you win, you can stop paying the extra reserves. If you win, the reserves that you already paid, the extra reserves, you can ask the court to get it back.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that's there.
And that may deter your board from actually doing it.
Well, but I'm not going to say that it's a slam dunk. But if you're asking me what this attorney thinks, and this is very controversial.
It is.
But if you're asking me what this attorney thinks, I'm absolutely going with that. If you don't have Kaufman language and your documents say you have a right to waive, the court can't take that away from you. Okay? That's this
Thank you so
attorney's
much.
opinion. Okay?
Thanks, Dan.
Let us know, Dan. All right. That brings
out
us to
your
the end
number.
of another show. Love ending on that.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's a very interesting. If nothing else, quite frankly, it's a very interesting topic.
We're not
Very,
saying we
very
want them to do that. We want everyone to be
well,
safe.
I think somebody's right. Exactly.
But
I'm
this
not
needs to
saying
be
that.
fixed.
I'm the first one that yelled for mandatory reserves. I was the first one who yelled for it. But do I think that if someone has the right to waive it in their governing documents, that they probably have the right to do it? Yes, I do.
He wrote a letter to the governor saying the next building that falls is on you
Right.
unless you
I
come up
wanted
with
mandatory
legislation.
reserves.
Yeah,
But
so
I got to tell you, based upon the Cone decision that I lost, yes, I think that unit owners have the right to say, all we want are the rights given to us in our documents that you can't change. We have the right to waive reserves. We're waiving it. Period. Okay, and I think it's a winner. All right, that brings us to the end of another show. Good show today.
awesome.
Great show today.
Smart people about
A
the
lot of
insurance
great calls
and
today.
everything.
Absolutely. And of course, if you need help off the air, legal help off the air, give Glazer and Sachs a call, 954-983-1112. Again, 954-983-1112. And until we see you and speak to you again next week, have a wonderful, safe week, everybody. And we'll see you again next Sunday. Be well,
Bye.
everybody.
Thanks,
Take care.
Eric. You have to come back and show Pippi.